Hello and welcome back to the 5th episode of Let's Talk Paragon. Today's going to be quite a big episode because this update is massive. But I'm going to work through the patch notes and try and tell you my thoughts and inform you what I think this means is going to happen to the game, because this will affect the game quite massively, I feel. Anyway, let's get hands on with these patch notes. So as you can see here, the immediate thing is they are now introducing a draft mode because the open beta is coming soon, and I'm assuming because of the amount of people coming through, they want to make it so that they can find the game as fast as possible. So they're introducing the draft mode. No real details have been announced at the minute, but I'm assuming it means you can queue up, you get put in a lobby with a load of other people, and you slowly select heroes and say where you want to go with that hero. That's kind of how it worked in League, so I'm assuming they're going to do something very similar. Then they talk about hero balance. I'm going to come to this later because there's a lot more coming on later. And the big one, this is the big one, card experience sharing. I have been waiting for this to happen since OTs. I knew that this was going to happen because deathballing has been prominent since that point, because they don't want to learn how to last hit very well, they will just go around in the jungle as a massive group because they get the exact same amount or very close as to what they would have got in lane because they're not good at last hitting. This forces people to then go into a lane and will mean that the skill ceiling is going to slowly start raising because of the fact that people will start getting better at last hitting. This means we should start seeing people getting card points a lot earlier in the game. And you might be wondering, well, doesn't that mean a couple of people could deathball through the jungle if it's only this much? No, and I'll tell you why. No jungle XP is shared, only the last hitter who hit the jungle creep will get the CP. Meaning deathballing is completely dead. So just working through these stats quickly, just to give you a quick scenario. If it was you and your support in lane as an ADC, you both get 100% of the card XP. That's pretty good actually, because that's different to how it works in things like League of Legends. This means that you can stay in a lane and it doesn't matter, you'll be at exactly the same point. That's good, because it means the speed of the game is going to be a lot quicker than in other MOBAs. Which is what they're aiming for, because at the moment MOBAs do seem to be lagging a bit behind in player base because they drag on a bit sometimes. Now if it was 3 people, you'd get 100% as the last hitter and 50% each as assist 1 and 2. If it's 4 people, it's 100, then 33, 33, 33, and then if it's 5 people, it's 100, 25, 25, 25, 25. So basically, the more people you have in a lane, the less it's going to get shared between you all. So you might be thinking, well, doesn't that make the game speed slower? No, it won't. And later on, I'll explain why. And you're going to hear me say this a lot this episode, but this will force a new meta. Now that the CP sharing and deathballing is dead, there will have to be a new meta, and this patch is so big and it changes so many things, I have a feeling it will change a lot of the meta, and a lot of new strats will start appearing in the next month or so. You'll see a lot of Twitch players doing it and a lot of YouTubers doing it, and obviously I can't say what it is at the minute because it hasn't happened, but you'll definitely start seeing it soon. Now let's start to take a look at the rest of the patch notes. As you can see here, they have changed the Prime Orb Guardian, meaning he now pays the CXP directly to the team and each member receives 800, which is a fair amount because considering by the time you get to kill him, each level of CXP is going to be 2,400. That gives you a fair amount towards your next level, making him a worthwhile target. Another thing here is that the Prime card is now active while carrying the orb. That is a big deal. That is a very, very big deal. If you wanted to just push as a team but protect your AD carry while he's got the Prime orb, that would wreck an inhibitor. And, oh wait, look, they've changed it so the inhibitors no longer respawn. I can definitely see a strategy emerging where a team would go for the Prime Orb, give it to the ADC, and then make it so that they can kill the inhib. If it never comes back, that's going to be a massive deal. You're going to constantly have to protect from the super minions that are going to be coming down your wave constantly until the game ends. This means that you are forcing the enemy to have to defend. However, they've also increased the inhibitor HP from 3,500 to 4,000, and an additional super minion is spawned per super minion wave after 40 minutes of the game time, forcing the game to hopefully come to its conclusion after 40 minutes. They have also changed kill bounties and mechanics, making it pay the full bounty of CXP to the killer. The amber drop by the player now pays out to the entire team when picked up, and they've reduced the amount amber heroes drop on death. reducing the base bounty from 760 to 470, and the amber is worth 1/3 of the hero's bounty. Shields now also no longer benefit from armor, and armor is only applied to the damage left after the shield absorption is calculated, which is good because it means shields on tanks are no longer basically immune from damage. They've also made it so lane minions will now start spawning earlier at 15 seconds after the match starts, and also made it so buff camps spawn at 1 minute and 50 seconds so people can't just rush them with their jungler. This is basically forcing junglers to solo the jungle and make it so that people in lanes either have to choose to go help them later in the game or stay in lane and just let them level up and face them on their own. The Prime Guardian spawns at 300 seconds while the White Camp spawn time is set to 120 seconds. And now quickly just to go over the minion updates, they have reduced the number of ranged minions in the base wave from 3 to 1. They have also increased the range and melee minion XP from 12 to 18. They have increased the range of the melee minion coins from 2 to 3, 10 to 15 for last hits, increased ranged melee and siege minion attack rating from 6.08 to base, 15.2 and 1.8 per level, reduced siege minion health from 690 base and 15 per level to 375 base and 17 per level, increased ranged melee and siege minion resist versus structures to account for that change, and updated super minion wave to include 3 regular melee minions, 1 range minion and 1 super minion. Late game waves after 40 minutes still include an additional super minion, 2 total. Increasing super minions health to account for that change, removing melee minion bonuses to resist other minions, increased melee minion health from 350 base and 17 per level to 470 base, 21.2 per level to account for the change, and also updated the minions movement speed to be a flat 425. Did you get all that? So just to recap, what I've discussed so far is a draft mode, CXP changes, and a whole heap of other changes. So you'd think that would be it, right? Nope, there's more. There's a lot more. There's so much more I won't be able to cover it all, but I will try and cover all the important points. Let's have a look at another part of the patch notes, which is they have removed all passives from all heroes. That's a massive change, and basically what they're going to try and do is they've put them in their already existing abilities, meaning that you don't have another bit of a tooltip to read, they're already there, you'll just get used to it with time. Your basic attacks now no longer need to be leveled either, it automatically levels as the player levels up, which means through time, your attack speed will get faster and your attacks will hit harder. To make this fair, they have also done a hero health balance for the recent upcoming changes, meaning that fighters and tanks have their armor and armor per level increased, and caster and ADCs have their armor and armor level increased slightly, so that it's not just going to be a one-hit wonder fest for all the ADCs running around wreaking havoc. They have also updated all the abilities so that you can now only upgrade them 4 times instead of 5, although they have increased the amount you can upgrade the right mouse button. They have also updated the ability unlock schedule for Q, E and right mouse button to allow you to have a bit more freedom of choice. And they've also updated the ability unlock schedule for the ultimate abilities. And now something I didn't expect to see in this patch, and that's that Calera has been reworked. They have reduced her slash damage and increased the cooldown on her backflip ability, thank god. Now however, the Shadow Walk ability now scales with ability level, so the duration is increased with each level, starting from 6 seconds to 18, 24, 30 and 36 seconds. That's massive. The cooldown is slightly reduced per level, and the cooldown now begins when the ability is activated, not when it ends. Again, that is a massive change. Enemies will no longer hear Calera when she is stealth near them but not visible, meaning if you are in the jungle, you go invisible and you're waiting for the right moment to strike, you aren't given away by going invisible. Calera now also gets a small attack damage bonus on her first slash if she breaks stealth to attack a target, and Calera now also has a 2-second fade times in all level of stealth. During this time she's still fully visible to enemies, meaning she can't just pop away all the time. Her ability Blood Dagger has been renamed to Crippling Dagger, and the damage has been adjusted, going from 100 to 130, 160 to 190. The bleed has been removed, although now she slows the target based on the ability level for a different amount of movement speed, maxing out at 145 movement speed reduction. And the damage scaling has been reduced to compensate for that. They have also redesigned her death sentence to mark enemies for 5, 6, 7 seconds, giving Calera and her team full vision of them during this time. And this bit's the kicker. Then during that time, Calera may choose to teleport to an enemy after a 1.25 second channel. on arrival that target will take either 1, 1.5 or 2 times, depending on what level the ability is, attack damage, and the cooldown on this is 125, 115 and 105. I think it goes without saying really that Calera is going to be quite well played now when she comes out, because this is quite a nice healthy change for her. It allows her to be an assassin, but allows her to also have counterplay, so if you are actually being stalked by a Calera, there is some perks for the changes for you, because you're able to see her for a few seconds while she's going invisible, which gives you a sense of direction in which way she might go, unless she just stands still, in which case you just shoot her in the face. There are a lot of other changes on the patch notes, which I will link in the description below if you want to have a look. As I said, I would cover them, but there are so many this would take at least 20 minutes. Now before we look at the skins that they've also added into the game, I would like to go through a recap of what we have discussed so far. So we had the draft mode, we also had the CXP changes, we then followed it up with a heap of other kind of changes, the passive removal from all heroes, and the Calera rework. And let's not forget there's a load of other patch notes that I haven't included, but I have listed to the official Paragon page, which you can find in the description below, and this is going to be the patch. And if you don't quite get what I mean by that, basically what I'm trying to say is this is going to be the patch that will make Paragon what it will be in the future. This meta that comes out in the next couple of months will probably be what will be happening in the ranked mode when that gets released later in the year. So if there was ever a time to get into Paragon and try and understand the strategy, it would definitely be now if you plan on playing the ranked mode. Now I'm just going to go through a couple of my opinions on these patch notes, and I'm going to be quite quick about it. The card XP changes mean more card XP will be floating around quickly because people will be forced to lane most of the time, meaning that the games will be faster, which is good in my opinion, and will allow for some more strategies to be developed rather than just running around in a ball. The changes to the Prime Orb will mean that people can go around and, instead of cashing it in, I can see strategies evolving where they destroy inhibitors. Now that inhibitors do not respawn, there will be a prime target, if you pardon the pun, to be taken out. The removal of passives and the introduction of scaling basic attacks will also mean that there's going to be different level scaling, and there will be some more interesting damage outputs coming out, considering that it's going to be a per level thing rather than increments based on your level. This should also mean that it'll be harder to fall behind in terms of damage as an ADC, because if you get one level up on someone, it doesn't mean you then do 30 extra damage a hit, post level 6. And I can definitely see after this rework Calera getting played a lot, because she's got a lot of interesting stuff in her kit now, and it allows her to be a more effective assassin. Overall, I think the gameplay in Paragon is about to get changed big time, and it should make it a lot more interesting to play, and a lot more fast paced. And with the changes to minion spawn times and minion XP gain, as well as card XP not being shared past one assister, it should mean that people are going to be in lane a lot more, and it should mean for a lot more interesting lane matchups. And if you're still awake with me at this point, I thank you for staying with me, because this has been a long episode, and I understand that all the numbers being thrown around are kind of dull if you don't really care what they mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the skins and my opinions on them, just for the last bit of the video as kind of a nice, relaxing end. So this first one is Wasteland Feng Mao. Looks pretty cool, it's different from the main skin. Makes him look kind of Avatar-ish, but you know, either way it's a good addition to the skin collection that's out. The second one they've added is Wasteland Howitzer. I don't know why this one reminded me very much of Fallout 4. I think it's because it's the same kind of colour as the vault suit you get in the start. But all around a kind of nice skin, different variant from the original. And the final one, which is my favourite, which is Snakebite Murdoch. Looks pretty cool, looks like he's going for some special ops in the desert. That, and also they've covered his face, so he looks more like, kind of like a Spartan. Or out of Destiny kind of thing. But overall I think it's probably my favourite out of the bunch that they've released this time round. But yeah, I think that's all the bases I'm going to cover in this episode, considering we're now getting towards the 14 minutes and a half mark. If you've stayed with me this far, thank you very much. I will be including the link to the patch notes in the description below, as I've mentioned, so that you can have a look at the full list of patch notes, because there are a lot of hero ones that I did not do in this episode, because it basically changes every hero, and that would take at least half an hour to cover all the heroes. But as usual, if you liked this video, give it a like. If you disliked it, give it a dislike. If you're not subbed, feel free to give me a sub, and If there's anything you'd like to see in these kind of episodes, let me know and I'll see if I can include it in the next one. And other than that, I hope I see you for the next episode of Let's Talk Paragon.